All right, good morning. All right, we're going live. All right, here we go. Morning, everybody. Wow, right on time. Yesterday at 5 p.m., I went live and did a. First of all, I want to say, guys, I'm a little sorry. I'm a little late. I'm trying to do this at 6 a.m. It's 7:30, but we got some natural light here. I was out a little late last night. Had a engagement that I had to handle, and as you guys can see, I was wearing a tie at the 5 p.m. Broadcast and stayed out a little late. Getting up and getting going at 5 a.m. wasn't really happening today. That's going to happen, but I'll try to do the stream when I can. Catch up with you guys. So if you don't see me at 6 a.m., I'll post something, let you guys know what's going on. So we're getting started here at 7:30 today. And I appreciate everybody that's watching live. Oh, let me get the live chat. Don't forget, if you want to add a comment, and please, 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 you guys, we're starting to get some pretty good views, and the channel is growing, and I do greatly appreciate it. But I'd really like to get you guys involved more to get some comments in real time. So if you're on X, you can follow us on Spaces, where you can actually talk and make comments. And then also there's always the live chat. So uh, speaking of, let me pull up the live chat so that I can see you guys if y'all show up. And because I do want to be able to respond to you guys. Oh my gosh, let's see here. The only way I have figured out how to do this, and I'm still learning, guys. So be patient with me. Um, let's see here. Okay, pop out. I gotta pop out the chat. There we go. Good morning. Let me know if you are here. Whew. Okay, so we're going to talk about Justin Mohn. You may have heard by now. This is the guy that decapitated his father's head yesterday and displayed it on YouTube, and then was calling for the overthrow of the government online, which is very interesting because we had just discussed sedition yesterday at 5 p.m. and what is sedition and what are the elements of sedition, and we even talked a bit about Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Intario, two prominent militia members who were uh, convicted of sedition and sentenced in the January 6 events that happened in D.C. So let's get to the story here, just in case anybody needs to get caught up here. Let's see. This is from Daily Express. Let's just go ahead and just go through it. Man beheads father and calls for war on U.S. federal employees in sick YouTube video. The video uploaded by the account of Justin Mohn starts with him staring at the camera before holding up what looks like a human head in a plastic bag. A man has been arrested after uploading a video of his father's severed head and calling for U.S. federal employees to be killed on sight. Justin Mohn, 32, begins the story by staring at the camera, holds up a head, and he says, "This is the head of Mike Mohn, a federal employee of over 20 years and my father. He is now in hell for eternity as a traitor to his country." Okay, unfortunately, I did watch the beginning of the video here. Come on, mouse. And I did see what everybody else saw, which appeared to be a severed head. It put it in a plastic bag. It was not pretty. But I listened to kind of most of the video, and the guy is convinced that his father's a federal agent. He goes on to declare himself as leader of the some network of Mohn militias. He calls for the overthrow of the government and calls for people to kill federal employees. As we discussed yesterday, I mean, it's textbook definition of sedition. He is outright alleging himself to be involved with others. He's calling for the overthrow of the government and to interfere with government operations, assassinate federal employees. And if you don't believe that he's serious, he starts the video by holding up the head of his deceased father. I don't think sedition though is going to be this guy's problem. Obviously, under the state statutes, he's going to be facing murder charges, which are probably going to put him in prison for the rest of his life. And I did check, I did a little bit of research this morning. I know that a lot of people are, going with the false flag narrative or they have questions about it. And so that's why I decided to cover it this morning because I think it's important to people, right? People are wondering like the timing of this all. And so I went and dug into a little bit of this guy's history. I can tell you in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, you can see it's public information where the charging documents appear to have been filed, which makes sense. He was arrested last night. According to other news reports, police were notified pretty soon that after he went on YouTube, they showed up and apparently they did find his deceased father inside the home. So let's get to it. Mike Mohn, his father, who was Mike Mohn. Well, by all accounts, I'm parroting other reports at this point. His father was not a federal agent. His father owned two businesses, and it does not appear his father worked for the federal government at any point. His father appears to be self-employed, owned a cleaning product company. I haven't gone into those records, but I have gone into some records and some stuff that I think you guys will find interesting. So I kind of started doing my own research on Justin, and I found that he had lived in Colorado, which is consistent. And this guy's troubles, there's stuff out here. Well, let's start with what Jack Posobiec posted about him. Let's see here. And I do believe these screenshots of his Facebook are accurate. I don't have any reason not to, except the fact that Jack Posobiec posted it. Here we go. Which I don't know what's going on with Jack, but recently I don't know if he was trying to be sarcastic, but I got a little bone to pick with him. He posted something about the Secretary of State being the overly attached girlfriend, which I think was kind of started off as a joke, but he kind of posted it as reality, and I don't think that's right because I know who overly attached girlfriend is, and I'd hate for her to be harassed. I thought he was really responsible of it. But here's some Facebook posts that Jack Posobiec posts from his allegedly his Facebook. I wasn't able to find his Facebook, so I haven't been able to verify it. But he's promoting one of his books here in 2020. He says, I believe the time has come for action. Hey, Sean. Thank you, man. Hey, buddy, if you want to chime in on anything, I see you're there. Just raise your hand. I'll look down every couple minutes. You can also join the live chat and Rumble. I appreciate you. And if you want to see what we're saying, go to Rumble, the Uncle Jonathan channel there. You should be able to find it. If you can't, just send me a notice. All right, so going to his Facebook, you can see this guy was going back to 2020. He was hawking his book, talking about America's coming bloody revolution, yada, yada, yada. There's some other posts on here. There's one where he's got a meme where he made of himself, and he's got something that looks like Bigfoot in front of him, talking about stalkers. He says it's an album cover. He's also hawking another book called Poems I Wrote When Stoned. And let's see, 2019, he talks about, there's another post here where he talks about not eating meat for 7 years and talks about some vitamin B deficiencies and vitamin D deficiencies. I actually found this kind of interesting because if you know anything about what happens with wet brain, again, these posts are allegedly his Facebook posts. Go to Jack Posobiec's Twitter, they're there. I'm going to get into some federal documents. He was involved in a lot of federal litigation, and I got those documents. They've been mentioned in some other reports, but I found some very interesting things I'm going to get to here very soon, guys. And I would like to, I think they're very, very interesting as far as figuring out what in the world is going on with this guy. So, um, let me get back. I'm going a little too fast. I find the post about vitamin B deficiency interesting. If you know anything about alcoholism, not saying this guy was an alcoholic, I think his problem was probably marijuana. He's probably one of those people that shouldn't have been smoking it, the very few. But there are people out there who have really weird reactions to it. Um, so if you ever heard of anybody being called a wet brain, there's actually a scientific name for it, but it only happens in alcoholics and people that are malnourished. But what happens basically is if you're when you're drinking, and this is a problem for chronic alcoholics that drink every day, your body doesn't absorb vitamin B. And if your body, there's a point where it won't happen in a week, it might not even happen in a month. It usually takes years of chronic alcoholism. And there's a point where if your B levels stay too low for too long, your body responds by starting to eat its own brain. And then it's kind of like it's it the effect is it kind of looks like Alzheimer's or dementia, because basically your gray matter is turning into white matter slowly, and it cannot be reversed. So if you ever, I don't know if you've ever heard of an alcoholic being referred to as having wet brain, you'll notice that they kind of, shuffle around, and they can't remember things even though they may have been sober for years. Um, you might go to an AA meeting and see somebody like this, unfortunately, but it will eventually kill them, just like Alzheimer's will. But I wonder when I see this vitamin B deficiency that he had. Of course, it could have been another delusion, but it really makes you wonder, what might have been going on with this guy physiologically. Um, so as far as tracing this Justin Mohn guy, he graduated with a Bachelor of Science, looks like around 2014, from a college in Pennsylvania, where he's from. From there, it looks like he goes to Colorado a couple years or not too long after he graduates, and he ends up getting a job with Progressive Insurance. He's only there for a few months before he, I guess, is terminated, and he files an EEOC lawsuit, which we're about to get into, which is very interesting. After that, he ends up working for $13 an hour at a credit union there, and then when he has to start, he files another lawsuit. Then he starts filing lawsuits against the federal government, claiming that he was tricked into taking student loans, and that his $165 student loan payment has ruined his credit score, ruined his life. Of course, all these lawsuits are being filed pro se. Obviously, no attorney has taken it, but we could get into it here because I found some really interesting stuff here. So let me go over here. Let me pull this up, and I apologize, guys. I'm doing this all on the fly. Um, this guy is pretty intelligent. I mean, he's got all these books. Let's do this before we go to the lawsuits. Here's his books you can pull on Amazon.com. Here's the titles: The Pink, Poems I Wrote While Stoned. Let's see, They Will Burn This Book. The Punishing, The Kingdom of Darkness, The Second Messiah, King of Earth. The Revolution Leader's Survival Guide. What's the subtitle there? How schools, workplaces, and social norms kill the genius inside of all of this. Uh, I mean, this guy is highly narcissistic, and we're going to see this in the actual filings that I'm about to read. I mean, this guy kind of fits narcissistic personality disorder to a T. Reading his bio. Let me see here. What's his bio? Okay, here's his bio on Amazon. I mean, of course, this is written by him, but um, Justin Mohn is an author of 7 books and musician of 3 albums and 1 single. His life story is unbelievable, and There may not be enough words to describe him, but one may begin to understand his complexity and experiences through his art. He only wishes to bring positive change to the world. Look, we're all going to say good things about ourselves in our bio when we're writing it, but just it. You're going to see this theme of grandiosity and he's special when really, he's just another 32-year-old guy, with college loans trying to make it in the world, and it's really kind of the it's really kind of the trademark of narcissistic personality disorder that they really just can't handle, that they're not that unique, and so they'll always try to stand out in these weird ways, and I think he made sure that he stood out last night. All right, let me go to the federal lawsuits here. So if you have a Pacer account, this is all public information, but I'm going to kind of shield some of this just because he includes a lot of statements and financial stuff and bank statements in his lawsuit. And I really don't, even though it's public information, I don't want to display something that might be a little sensitive. Okay, I'm on display now. So guys, let's take a look here. So I did a search in the criminal courts. Colorado's kind of behind a paywall, but I think somebody else would have found it with a LexisNexis account or something like that if there would have been. I didn't see anything in Pennsylvania, except of course his charge from last night. But he is a frequent flyer in the federal court system. It looks like he starts in 2018. He files this lawsuit in a federal court, and then he appeals it. This guy likes to play his own attorney, which is fine. But again, another trademark of narcissism to think that you can pull off self-representing yourself in a federal lawsuit. It's a lot of work. It's very difficult. Especially you're suing somebody like Progressive Insurance. Well, they're going to have lawyers against you. A lot of what, and I've noticed this as an investigator and working in the courts, is that the courts, excuse me, people that are highly narcissistic love the courts. One, we've all grown up watching TV and seeing these dramatic moments of vindication or humiliation of one side or the other. That isn't the way the courts happen. It has all the drama. They could be sitting there deciding a death penalty case. Literally, somebody could be being sentenced to death, and you'd be amazed that it's as interesting as, I don't know what to say, it seems as interesting and dramatic as a city council board meeting where we're talking about the trash pickup. Most courtrooms are very sterile, they're very dry. It has more to do with following procedure. So what a lot of people don't understand is there's the law, there's arguments, there's case law, but every state and every court system, including the federal court system, has what's called either the civil rules of procedure or the criminal rules of procedure. So just think of it this way. You might understand how football is played, that the idea is that you get you pass the ball or you hand the ball off and you get it into the end zone. Whoever has the most points win. That's how most of these pro se people go in, but they don't understand, that if you grab a guy's jersey or the holding calls or pass interference. And so when you're going pro se, you're basically, you're going in and trying to coach a football game, not understanding, right, all the rules, the penalties, and all that stuff. And that's really what lawyers do. I'm not sitting here to worship lawyers. I think that a lot of the stuff they do is ridiculous. But the actual civil rules and criminal rules of procedure is what makes it very difficult for somebody who's not an attorney to self-represent. But let's get into this lawsuit he files in 2018 because I found some really, really interesting documents here. Let's see, history. I always like to start with the actual complaint. I mean, the rest of this stuff in all his cases is just Uh, well, it's just basically him trying to, string this thing out and him thinking he's an attorney and this thing getting thrown out. I mean, none of his cases went anywhere. Let's see here. Okay, 2018 or 2019. Let me pull up his original complaint. So if you're watching on the Rumble channel, you could see here he's filling this out. The one thing they will do for pro se defendant is they kind of give you a form so you don't have to draft, especially with an employee discrimination complaint. So you can see here in his own handwriting, he has filled this out. This is an EEOC complaint. He claims that he was discriminated against under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which he just kind of checks off on a box there. And he claims here in his own writing in Section D, discrimination including discharge. So he was fired. He checks that it was a failure to promote, termination of employment. And so they got rid of him. He's asking for the Colorado state maximum of $300,000 from the plaintiff. For the plaintiff. Well, from Progressive to the plaintiff. Okay, see the attached complaint. He files this on April 3rd, 2018. All right. The first document he files with his complaint is a letter dated October 28, 2017, which would have been about 2.5 months after he was fired there from August 17th. So it goes on in this letter. It's several pages long. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you an idea of where this goes. I mean, this thing just goes on and on and on. I was employed at Progressive Insurance's Colorado Springs office, located at blah, 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 from October 24th, 2016 to August 17th of 2017. He didn't even make it a year. I complained of discrimination around August 7th, experienced retaliation, complained of retaliation, and was put on administrative leave for 1 week up to the 17th, then terminated after this 1 week leave. The discrimination is primarily gender discrimination, which occurred not only to me but other male employees at Progressive in their academy process, which is their hazing process all new employees go through after they hired me. So he claims it starts when he's going through training. Progressive proved with their academy process this hazing or cookie cutter process is seemingly not to optimize business or benefit our society. In fact, the reader may find it is the complete opposite, as this cookie cutter process is to let a culture of certain personality type and capacity thrive, which I will get into shortly, since I'm not sure others have evidence that Progressive proudly disallows any male who is perceived overqualified, overeducated, and not of this personality type to work at their company, after they hired us by enforced attrition. Okay. As an author of 2 books and a musician of 1 album, I know showing a story is better than telling a story. And so I will now describe my brief experience at Progressive, which was impressively the worst work experience I've ever had, although I'm grateful for what I learned, and which led me to file this complaint and me to consider publishing a book to muckrake Progressive in order to progress our society, for Progressive is most digressive to our society. I think you get a good idea where it's going on. He goes on, this thing goes on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total pages. He basically makes threats. He makes, this goes on. He's the victim. And you could see why they fired him. I mean, this is a letter to the EEOC, and all they care about is what's his discrimination complaint. He can't even get into it without telling us what a great author he is and how he has a true personality that's, overqualified and overeducated. This is a theme that I see in a lot of these filings over and over again is he keeps talking about how overeducated he is or how undereducated his coworkers were. Um, to me, his complaints really sound, and look, I'm critical myself of corporate America. I got out of it as fast as I could about 10 years ago, and I thank God I did. But here we go. Lower progressive hinting that at all 30,000 employees having little to no empathy and being in a lower IQ bracket or spreading a conspiracy. You'll see this over and over again. He talks about how everybody else is lower IQ. Dude, that is corporate America, man. You're going to be working with dumbasses. I'm sorry. That's just the deal. And you're talking about working at a big company. They're not looking for you to stand out. You're not a unicorn. You're not special. You took the job. You're there to do a job, and anybody who's been around for a while should know that. But it's really interesting here. I mean, this guy could go on and on and on. This is just a letter that he sent to the EEOC that he's sending as backup to his suit. Okay, so getting more into the suit, he has to fill out exactly what the particulars are of his charge. This is, thank God, much more shorter, probably because the little box on the form only allows him to go on for about a paragraph and a half. And he says here, I was hired by Progressive Insurance on October 24, 2016 as a call center customer service rep. During my tenure at Progressive, it was obvious that I was a high achieving, here we go, and hard-working employee with great upward mobility potential. However, I was perceived as overqualified and overeducated when my capabilities were shown. He's a victim because he's so awesome. Now he's a victim because he's got haters, right? I received the most frequent amount of compliments from customers, and I was warned that nobody goes anywhere at Progressive unless they fit the company's culture. Dude, that's every company. From my company to Walmart to IBM to Tesla. Being lax, not productive, putting customers on hold and having personal conversations about home lives instead of working. So he's complaining as coworkers were not being productive enough. I complained to HR in August of 2017 about this issue and was placed on administrative leave, blah, 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 for the alleged behavior. I applied for a technical writing promotion in August 2017 and was denied. Well, I wonder why. I believe I've been discriminated against because of my gender, male, and violation. All right, because there has to be another reason, right? It can't be that I'm a dickhead. Oh man, this guy. So this is the path that we kind of find. He's been out of college for about 4 years. For all we know, this is the first real job this kid has ever had. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, or Ag Business, I believe. I might have this slightly wrong, but it's something to do with agriculture, which kind of is weird because usually those are guys that want to go into farming. Those are usually kids that grew up on a farm or a ranch, and they're usually going to get a degree and go back home and work on the ranch. But here, that's the end of that case. Obviously that case gets, well, let's speed up here to the result. So that case gets tossed. Here we go. Order to, let me look at this. There's a TRO. It may have been him filing a TRO. Let's see what this is about, or protective order. Joint motion pursuant to the rules. The parties agree. Good cause exists. Oh, this is just keeping them from disclosing private information. So anyways, his case looks like dismissed at the beginning of 2019. And yeah, Filed a motion for he filed a motion for summary judgment, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't get it, or he wouldn't be that upset at the world. Whoa, good Lord. This guy can't write anything succinctly. Yeah, he really just, I mean, I will say this, he is smart. He's smart enough to drag this case out, which he did for against Progressive, filed it in April of 2018, drags it out for 2 or 3 years, and then he appeals it um, there in the federal court again, appeals the decision. I don't think that goes anywhere. Again, guys, I'm doing this all on the fly. And then what's interesting is he files another lawsuit in 2022. He files a lawsuit against Mohn versus Cardona. And I'll take a look at this one. This one he files in Pennsylvania. So it looks like his trip to, like I said, we traced him after he left Progressive. He was working for $13 an hour at a credit union. Claimed he didn't have anything, or really, submits his bank records, and it's like, yeah, the guy really doesn't have anything, which, for a guy out of college isn't that, special, but or out of line. But he files a lawsuit against Miguel Cardona, the Secretary of the United States Department of Education. So here in 22, looks like he's living back in Pennsylvania, I guess, with his parents. And he's getting pretty upset about his discrimination lawsuit didn't go anywhere against Progressive, even though he appealed it. And now he's getting really upset about the student loans. And in this lawsuit that he files against the Secretary of the Department of Education, Miguel Cardona, he says, what events, and I'm reading from the filings, giving rise to your claim occur. Plaintiff, the borrower of the loan, was located in Pennsylvania and lived at the same address as listed for Pennsylvania at the top of this form. The defendant is in D.C. What events gave rise to your claim? The loan began servicing in 2020 for college courses, which began in 2020. Plaintiff was not, okay, he's not even making any sense. He's really complaining about, oh my gosh, he goes on and on and on. Let's see here. Okay, this is going to be interesting. All right, so plaintiff's parents arranged a federal student loan for plaintiff with the Department of Education during 2020. The loan was originally serviced by Fed Loan Servicing, but transferred to Mohila in November of 2021. In 2014, plaintiff graduated from Penn State with a BS in agribusiness management. One of the business majors offered plaintiff's $200 monthly loan payment for his federal student loan automatically began 6 months after graduation, according to the loan terms his parents and the Department of Education and/or loan servicer agreed upon. Plaintiff was not made aware of the income-driven repayment plan option until many years by mail notification. Okay, so he's upset. He could not find a job in Pennsylvania due to a poor job market and is only able to obtain part-time jobs at Barnes & Noble in November of 2024 and later at Spirit Financial Credit Union in December 2014, alongside a majority of coworkers and bosses who did not have college degrees but rather high school diplomas. Here we go again. He's the most educated person in the room. Regardless, due to plaintiff's ambition, yes, work ethic, and financial frugality, plaintiff was able to save $7,000 working part-time at Spirit Financial Credit Union. Boy, they better check, make sure he didn't just pull that out of the safe. While living at home with his parents, not paying rent, making monthly payments of his student loan of $200 a month. Plaintiff's job applications after graduation from 2014 onward, which include many applications to roles with the federal government can and will be supplied. So this guy, now that he's calling for an overthrow and killing of all feds, he was applying to the federal government. Now this is an interesting little tick because I mean, I don't know what jobs he was applying with. I would imagine somebody like him probably would not be happy or even waste his time applying to be a clerk at the Social Security office. My guess would be that if we dig deeper, we're going to find Justin wanted to be a special agent or, double lock spy or something, which if he wanted to go into any type of law enforcement, one, he probably didn't have a degree for that. Two, they would have screened his butt out pretty quick um, in the psychological profile. So he says that he moves from Colorado after saving up. He moves to Colorado after saving up this money in October of 2015, uh, and that he finds a full-time job at the credit union, but he's only getting $13 an hour. Well, he kind of skips right over Progressive. That's weird because that would have been, I guess, before. Well, I don't know. Okay, so this guy hangs around credit unions. He finds another full-time job at the credit service. Okay, he just skips around. He likes to work in banks and credit unions. And he says then he found another full-time job at Progressive for $16 an hour, slightly higher wage. I mean, yeah, I get it, man. It's tough out there, man, on 13, 16 bucks an hour, but it doesn't sound like the guy had a lot of work experience. Sounds like he was a pain in the ass to deal with. And he keeps talking, his hard work ethic paying off. Man, these themes just go over and over and over again. I'm forgetting what lawsuit we're on now. Why is he suing? But what does any of this have to do with suing the department? He just goes on and on. Finally, there's some boxes here where he has to talk about his injuries. Mental anguish, emotional distress, loss of quality of life damages to finances and credit, including the ability to pay back a line of credit with a balance of over $3,400, a credit card with a balance of $6,900, and a rent agreement over $4,600, which has lowered the plaintiff's credit score down. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is the kicker. He requests the court to pay $10 million to him for the above mentioned injuries. And of course, this suit goes nowhere. He doesn't get $10 million. And yeah, just this whole case. But he does try to stretch things out. Let me see how long this case goes on. I would imagine the Department of yeah, this thing got knocked down pretty fast. He files it in March, and by May there's an order dismissing the case. So that one didn't even make it 2 months. Then he actually files an appeal to this in 2023 last year. And again, it takes about 6 months, and then that case gets knocked down, that appeal. All right, so that is what I have found on the history of Justin. Let me check here and see if there's anybody got anything to say in the chat. Because the big question is, if you look on Twitter this morning, is that everybody thinks this is a false flag. And it's funny because just yesterday we talked about sedition and the elements thereof and what sedition is. And obviously, Justin, as I said at the beginning of the cast here, Justin obviously makes sure that he checks all those boxes that we discussed yesterday, calling for the overthrow of the government. But it appears this guy is delusional and that he's been this way for a long time. And obviously he's got some major issues in his life. But, the problems he have are not that different than the problems I had when I was in my 20s. And he just, kind of came to a different conclusion. My take, honestly, on this is that this guy is not a false flag. And I want to get to kind of the point that, and I think a lot of this happened, this is the problem. People with severe personality disorders, and I do think narcissism is an epidemic right now. And the problem with people like this is they're going to be attracted to movements. They're going to be attracted to liberal left wing movements. They're going to be attracted to right wing movements. They're going to be attracted to all kinds of different, things. And what you got to understand is they see a chance for them to get the respect, the glory that they have been denied, right? And you got to look for that. And that's not a false flag. That is the decrepit insanity that our society has devolved into. Now, there's always been people like this, but I think we've had social norms that we accepted that kind of kept these people in check. And now that we don't, now that we actually reward people for acting and behaving like this online and in public, um, you know, it's really weird. It's become the norm. But this is a guy that's got a long pattern. Man, this guy, goes to college, and again, a failure of the college system. Honestly, this guy should have been booted out of college. I'd love to see what his experience in college was like. And that's what these colleges have become now. They'll let these guys take these loans, go into debt, because they're nothing but daycare centers for grown people. That's all these colleges are becoming. I saw a video of some kid that was taking a bath in class, and the instructor is like, as long as you're quiet, you can take a bath. And he sits there and he's got his shirt off and he's rubbing soap, and it's insanity, right? And this is kind of the problem I had when I was younger. Was I was like, they let these idiots in school. I would have loved to gone to college and gotten a 4-year degree. I tried, but like Justin, I had to found out that I had to work and make money, and I focused on that, and that led me to a trade where I make a lot of good money. So in the end, it worked out for me. But you got idiots that are just there to be, go to high school part two because they don't want to go out into the real world. Then they got to go out into the real world and they find out what it's like. And this man was very disturbed. Um, you read his books. This is pervasive. This is like, he may have had some other mental disorders, but I think and narcissism can go hand in hand with other serious mental disorders like schizophrenia. But when I first saw this video, honestly, I thought this guy was having a psychotic break. I thought this guy was probably going to end up being schizophrenic. He was going to end up, he didn't take his meds that day. He was delusional. But looking back at this, man, this is the run of the mill narcissism to me. I mean, it's out of control, obviously. But I think these people convince themselves that, they will latch on to an ideology. They'll latch on to something not because they see a real significance of it, but you see him parroting it, right? Like, and I'll tell you how you know it's bullshit. So, if you look at his books and look at how the media is going to try to profile this guy as someone who is radicalized by right wing or conservative philosophy, right? Well, what is at the root of, let's say, what we would call right wing conservative philosophy, right? Self accountability, not being a victim, right? Taking responsibility for yourself, working hard, all this stuff. But if you look at what he actually does, is all this guy does is claim to be a victim. And this is the thing about narcissism. He doesn't even see the contradiction, right? He doesn't see that he's actually projecting and he's actually being everything that he claims to be against. And that is where I think it makes it obvious that, this guy is not really there. He's not someone who's been radicalized by the conservative movement. He could have just as easily glommed on to a left wing movement or any movement, right? Because at the end of the day, the narcissist has to be right. Again, which is why they love the courts, which is why they'll spend all this time making fools of themselves in the court system, representing themselves, filing all these ridiculous lawsuits, because they think that there might be a payoff. There might be that moment where they're in the courtroom and the gavel comes down and the judge tells them you're right and these other people are wrong, and they really fantasize about humiliation, about their opponents, other people being humiliated and themselves being vindicated. Well, what better venue, right? If you really don't understand what court's like, but in the average Joe's mind, what better venue than a courtroom, right? Because these guys think that what's going to happen is a judge is going to point his finger and shame the other person, and then raise up with both hands the victor. And that's what these guys really think happens in court. So they love court, man. If you ever see a narcissist in a divorce case, I'm sorry for you, man. They will drag these things out. These things get vicious, and I've seen it with people with actual diagnosed personality disorders like narcissism going into divorce. It can get really ugly. Sometimes they'll do the opposite. They'll run away because they're scared, but a lot of times they will. So, I mean, I want to hear some input from you guys. Do I think this is a false flag? No. I think this is a guy that just, has become obsessed. I know some people said MK Ultra go wrong. I don't know. I think this guy's just a very, spoiled, self-absorbed guy who just, realized that life was going to be a lot of hard work. And he just decided, obviously, there was some anger against his father. And I think that this guy is going to be shown to be competent. I don't think they're going to say that he's so mentally detached that he didn't know what he's doing. And I think he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, which is where he belongs. But anyways, so that's my take this morning on the Justin Mohn story. Sean, my one and only listener on Spaces, if you want to make a comment, this would be the time. I've been going streaming here for about 45 minutes, so if nobody else has much to say, then I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and get some work done today. But thank you guys for viewing my live stream. Okay, Sean, here we go. Now, Sean, I'm just going to tell you before I put you on, you are going to be on the live stream too, so I'm going to, let me get this. Let's see, Sean. Let's see, here we go. All right, I saw your request. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. I sent you an invite to speak. Well, it looks like you're gone. Oh, it says you're invited to speak. All right, let me turn the volume up. Can you hear me, Sean? Ah, there you are. I see you posted something. Interesting. Was it? Mugshots of, yeah, all these other crazy guys. Only liberals murder. Well, yeah, but the problem is that Justin claimed his ideology was being kind of a conservative. He claimed to be anti-woke, but yeah, like I agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, uh, his philosophy was really contradictory, but we know how the media is going to portray this. So yeah, very interesting stuff. But yeah, there is some stuff in common. I will say this. I try to be open-minded. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to broadcast here to try to be that guy that says he knows everything. I'm more interested in digging around and finding truth. But I'm looking at this mugshot here, these mugshots that you put up, and I think about the guy in Colorado. Trying to remember where the rest of these guys are. Boy, yeah, these are some scary mugshots. Um, the one that's really haunting is the Sandy Hook guy. But yeah, you think about what happened out there in Colorado, the Colorado connection. That's kind of interesting. Wonder what the hell they got going on out there. Anyways, all right. Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate you for listening. I think all the rest of you guys, please follow the Rumble channel if you like it. We're growing the audience. I'll be broadcasting every day, sometimes twice a day out here. And this is the kind of stuff. I know I'm talking fast and I'm trying to keep up and I'm trying to read and I'm trying to do all this stuff at the same time, but it gets a lot more fun if y'all participate. So I'd love to have, somebody who wants to come on here regularly with me, or even somebody just wants to come in, just chime in. I love responding to feedback. So follow us on X, or follow me. There ain't no us. Follow me on X at Uncle Jonathan TV. Follow me on Rumble, Uncle Jonathan. And this channel is Uncle Jonathan 6 a.m. And so I will see you guys next time. And who knows, I might be broadcasting again today if there's more on this story. Have a great day. God bless you. Take care and be nice.